The whiteboard marker sting hangs in the air, sharp and clean, cutting through the warmer, uglier smell of burnt coffee that Valencia spilled hours ago and never had time to fully wipe away. It lives in the room now, a faint bitterness under everything. Her classroom, her sanctuary, room 214. She stands behind her desk with a stack of conference notes aligned to the edge like a shield. The paper corners press into her fingertips. She keeps them there on purpose. A small, controlled pain that anchors her to the present. Outside, footsteps slow in the hallway, then stop. The latch clicks. The door opens. Sage Winters steps in first, her uniform crisp, her backpack too heavy, her eyes bright in that way that always makes Valencia think the child is carrying more than textbooks. Sage's hand is wrapped around her father's, tugging him in with the casual confidence of a girl who believes adults will do what she expects. Valencia looks up, ready to smile, ready to be Miss Harris. Then she sees him. Atlas Winters fills the doorway with polished ease, older than the boy she knew, and unmistakably the same. The suit is perfect. The watch catches the light. His presence has the weight of money and certainty, the kind that makes rooms rearrange themselves around him. He looks like he belongs everywhere. Valencia's pen slips from her fingers. It clatters against the desk, then rolls and drops again, a sharp, ugly sound that ricochets in the sudden silence. For a breath, the room feels smaller, as if the walls have leaned in to listen. Atlas's face drains so fast it shocks her. His mouth opens, closes, opens again like he forgot what language is. His eyes lock onto hers and do not let go. He looks like he has seen a ghost. Valencia's hand grips the edge of her desk so hard her knuckles pale. She forces her shoulders down, forces air into her lungs. Years of practice, years of professionalism, snap into place like armor. Sage looks between them, confused, and her confusion is its own kind of danger. Sage is observant. Sage notices everything. Miss Harris? Sage's voice is small, careful, like she can feel the temperature drop. Are you okay? Valencia's throat tightens. The question lodges there. She can't answer with truth. Truth is too heavy for an 11-year-old to carry. Atlas swallows. His throat moves like it hurts. When he speaks, it's barely more than breath. Valencia. Her name lands in the room like a confession, like a prayer he never stopped rehearsing. Valencia does not flinch. She does not step back. She does not let her face show the way. Her chest feels like it's splitting. Mr. Winters, she says, her voice steady, professional, smooth as the laminated classroom rules on the wall. This is unexpected. Sage's eyes narrow slightly. A tiny shift Valencia has seen 100 times when the girl is connecting dots. You two know each other. Valencia keeps her gaze on Sage, not him. That is the first boundary. Her students are her priority. Her students are the reason she survived. We knew each other, she says carefully, as if each word must pass an inspection before it leaves her mouth. A long time ago. How long? Sage presses immediately, because of course she does. Sage never lets anything go. Her mind is a grip that doesn't release. Atlas answers before Valencia can stop him. Another lifetime, he says quietly. His eyes stay on Valencia, as if he is afraid she will vanish if he looks away. When we were different people, Valencia feels the room tilt. Her walls are covered with book covers and posters and children's art and reminders that everyone belongs here. She built this space with intention. She made it safe, and now the past is standing in it, wearing a suit that probably costs more than her car, bringing 12 years of silence like luggage he forgot to claim. She forces a breath, then another. then turns her attention fully onto Sage. Sage, she says, and her tone shifts into teacher warmth, measured and practiced. Sweetheart, why don't you grab the project you've been working on? The one about emotional literacy in different cultures. I'd love to show your father your work. Sage hesitates. Valencia watches the girl's eyes flick back and forth between her and Atlas, reading the room like it's a text she intends to annotate. Sage's fingers tighten around her folder strap, then loosen. It's in my locker, she says slowly. Perfect. Valencia replies, too bright, too calm. Take your time. Sage doesn't move right away. Her gaze lingers on Valencia's face, like she's searching for something that isn't being said. Then she turns and leaves, reluctantly, the door closing behind her with a soft click that hits Valencia like a gunshot. Silence floods in. Atlas takes a step forward without thinking. Valencia takes a step back without thinking. He stops immediately, like he felt the invisible line she drew with her body, like he recognizes, finally, that he does not get to crowd her. Not here, not in her space. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The only sound is the faint hum of the overhead lights and the distant echo of children's voices down the hallway. Life going on. Normal, indifferent, cruel. Atlas's voice comes low and uneven. How long have you known? Valencia's fingers tighten on the desk edge until she can feel the grain of the wood. Known what? That I'm Sage's father, he says, and the words sound like they're scraping his throat on the way out. That you've been teaching my daughter. A laugh escapes Valencia before she can stop it. Sharp, bitter. It surprises her with how it cuts the air. I found out about 6 seconds before you did, she says. When you walked through that door. Atlas's face shifts, relief and devastation fighting for control. I didn't know you worked here, he says quickly, as if speed can fix the damage. I swear I had no idea, and I didn't know Sage's father was you, Valencia says. Her voice stays level, her stomach does not. Funny how that works. He exhales, and it sounds like surrender. She talks about you, he says softly. All the time. Miss Harris. I never. He stops, swallows. You changed your name. I changed a lot of things, Valencia replies. Valencia, he says again, quieter this time. Don't, she cuts in, and the word is sharper than she intends, but not by much. Don't stand in my classroom and rewrite history. I'm not, he says, and for the first time there's something raw in his tone, something that isn't polished. I tried to reach you, after the tour. When I came back, I was surviving, Valencia says. There's a difference. He flinches, like she struck a bruise. I looked for you, not hard enough. The truth hangs between them, heavy and undeniable. She can see the argument in his eyes, the instinct to defend himself, the urge to explain. She also sees something else, something that makes her angrier because it is familiar, regret that wants to be forgiveness. Valencia straightens. She forces her hands to relax on the desk, even though she wants to hold on forever. She looks at him fully now, gives him the respect of direct eye contact and nothing else. Our professional relationship is about Sage, she says, not us. There is no us. Atlas's jaw tightens. There was. There was 12 years ago, Valencia says, steady as the clock above the door. Before you chose everything else. The door handle rattles. Valencia's pulse jumps. Sage returns, clutching her project folder, her eyes scanning the room in one fast sweep. She doesn't miss the distance between the adults. She doesn't miss the tension. She stands in the doorway like she's bracing for impact. I got it, Sage says, carefully. Valencia's face shifts instantly. Teacher mode, warmth, control, the mask that keeps her employed, the mask that keeps her alive in spaces that would love to see her crack. Wonderful, Valencia says, smiling like nothing happened. Let's sit down and go through your work. She gestures to the chairs. Atlas moves, silent, and sits where she indicates. Sage slides into her seat, still watching both of them, with that impossible perceptiveness. Valencia picks up a new pen. Her hand is steady now, but she can feel it. Even as she begins to speak about Sage's project, even as she praises her insight and her care and her mind, this isn't over. They have collided again, and nothing about this collision will be simple. Sage's folder lands on Valencia's desk with a soft slap, cardstock edges fanning out like a small shield. Valencia keeps her smile in place and turns the pages with careful fingertips, as if the paper might cut. Tell me what this section means, she says, voice bright, measured. Sage leans forward. It's about how different cultures name feelings differently. Like some languages have words we don't. Atlas nods once, too fast, trying to prove he's listening. His knee bounces under the chair, a barely controlled rhythm. Valencia catches it anyway. She catches everything. Sage points to a chart she drew in colored pencil. Valencia feels the waxy texture under her thumb as she taps the corner. This is strong, Valencia says. Your examples are specific. That's what makes them believable. Sage beams, then flicks her gaze to Atlas like she's checking whether he's impressed enough. See? I see, Atlas says. His voice is warm, but his eyes keep drifting to Valencia's hands, like he's watching for cracks. Valencia flips another page, keeping her pace steady. She speaks in short sentences, the way she does when she needs the room to stay under her control. She praises, she corrects, she guides. She keeps the conversation about Sage, and only Sage. The overhead lights buzz faintly. Somewhere down the hall, a locker door slams. Sage keeps talking, but her questions start to sharpen, the way they always do when she senses adults hiding something. So you knew each other, she says, dragging a line under a paragraph with her finger. Like, Valencia's spine tightens. She feels Atlas go still beside Sage, the air around him changing as if he's holding his breath. No, Valencia says quickly, smoothly. Not family. Friends? Sage pushes. Atlas opens his mouth. Valencia beats him to it. A long time ago, Valencia repeats, and the words are clean enough to be dull. Before I taught here. Sage's eyes narrow. That's not an answer. It's the answer you're getting, Valencia says, gently but firmly. She taps the page. Now, your conclusion. Let's strengthen it. You can connect your examples back to why emotional literacy matters. Sage studies Valencia for a beat, then obeys. She starts explaining her conclusion, but her foot swings under the chair, impatience leaking out anyway. Atlas tries to take notes. His pen scratches the paper too hard. Valencia hears it and keeps her gaze on Sage's work. She refuses to look at Atlas unless she has to. The conference ends the way conferences always end. Valencia, summarizing strengths, offering a next step. Smiling like this is normal. Sage is a pleasure to teach. Valencia says, and means it. Atlas swallows. Thank you, he says. His voice catches on the last word, like it costs him something, for everything you do for her. Sage stands, slinging her backpack on. Come on, Dad. Atlas rises. He hesitates, like his shoes are suddenly heavy. He turns back toward Valencia. The distance between them is the width of her desk, and it feels like an ocean. Valencia, he says quietly, we need to talk. Valencia doesn't blink. No, we don't. Please. Her jaw tightens. I said no. Sage pauses at the door, glancing back. Valencia's smile snaps back into place. Too perfect. Have a good evening, Sage, Valencia says, voice bright. You too, Miss Harris, Sage replies, but the words land cautious, like she's walking around broken glass. They leave. The door closes. Valencia stands still for a full breath, then another. The room smells like marker and coffee, and something else, now something old, that doesn't belong here. Her phone vibrates against the desk, the buzz rattling the pen cup. She looks down. Her conference schedule, the next parent, the next performance. Valencia exhales and resets her face. She reaches for a fresh pen. The cap snaps with a small, decisive click. For the next hour, she talks to parents who ask about reading levels and fit, and whether the curriculum is too political. She keeps her answers crisp. She keeps her tone neutral. She keeps her excellence sharp enough that nobody can question it. But the moment Atlas said her name keeps replaying like an unwanted echo. When the last conference ends, the hallway is quieter. Valencia stacks papers, straightens chairs, wipes the board until the ink smell fades to a ghost. Her fingers brush the spot on the desk where her pen fell earlier. The wood is smooth there, worn by years of work. She presses her palm down as if she can flatten time. Footsteps stop outside her door again. Her pulse jumps before she can stop it. The door doesn't open. A voice comes through the wood. Careful. Restrained. Ms. Harris? Valencia freezes. It's not Atlas. It's the administrative assistant from the main office. There's a message for you, the woman says. Principal Hargrove asked me to give this to you. A paper slides under the door, crisp white against the classroom tile. Valencia crouches and picks it up. Her eyes lock on the printed line near the top. Conference follow-up. Sage Winters. Parent contact. Mr. Winters. The ink is black, clean, official. Like the school is stamping reality into place. Valencia stands slowly. Her throat tightens again, but she swallows it down. She folds the paper once, then again, making the creases sharp enough to feel like control. Her hand hovers over her laptop. She should log the conference notes. She should file the form. She should treat this like any other parent. Instead, she opens Sage's student profile, the way she's done 100 times, and her gaze flicks to the emergency contact section without permission. Winters, Atlas. The first name sits there, like a threat, like a hook, like proof that the past doesn't stay buried just because she told it to. Valencia closes the file so hard the laptop lid clicks. She turns off the lights. The overhead hum dies. In the dim, the posters on her walls fade into silhouettes, and the room feels less like a sanctuary and more like a container holding everything she refuses to spill. Valencia locks the classroom door behind her, key twisting with a metallic scrape. In the hallway, the air is cooler. Her heels tap the tile in a steady rhythm that pretends she isn't shaking. She passes the glass trophy case names etched into plaques, mostly the same kind of names, the same kind of legacy. She sees her reflection layered over them and keeps walking. At the end of the hall, the elevator waits. Doors open, bright and empty. Valencia steps inside and watches the doors slide shut like a curtain. In the narrow mirror, her face looks calm, professional, untouched. Her hand, down by her side, is clenched so tight, her nails bite into her palm. She doesn't let go. Not yet. The elevator doors part on the ground floor with a soft sigh. Valencia steps out into the lobby's polished calm. where everything smells faintly of lemon cleaner and money. A security guard nods at her. He doesn't smile. She returns the nod anyway, because in places like this, politeness is armor. Outside, late afternoon air hits her skin cool and damp. The faculty lot is half empty, the sun already tilting behind the red brick buildings. She unlocks her aging Civic and slides inside. The seatbelt rubs her collarbone. The engine coughs once before it catches. She drives with both hands on the wheel, grip tight enough to whiten her knuckles. Traffic moves slow. A luxury SUV glides past her like it's floating. Valencia keeps her eyes forward. At Zora's school, she waits at the curb until her daughter appears with that confident stride and too heavy backpack. Zora climbs in, smelling like playground dust and grape shampoo. "Hey, Mama," Zora says, kissing her cheek. "Hey, baby." Valencia forces warmth into her voice. "How was your day?" "Fine." Zora pauses, watching Valencia's profile. "You sound tired." Valencia adjusts her mirror. "Long day." Zora doesn't push. She never does right away. She learned patience from watching Valencia survive. They drive to Valencia's mother's apartment. The stairwell smells like fried onions and laundry detergent. Zora runs ahead with a shout of, "Grandma!" and Valencia follows slower, bag strap digging into her shoulder. Her mother hugs her hard, murmurs something about rich folks and their nonsense, but Valencia just nods and lets the comfort pass through her without staying too long. Dinner is quick. Homework at the kitchen table. Zora's pencil scratches across paper in steady lines. Valencia pretends the normal rhythm is enough to drown out the way her stomach knots every time her phone screen lights up, even when it's just a spam call. Night settles. Radiator clanks. Upstairs, neighbors shift. Valencia lies in bed staring at the ceiling until her eyes burn, then closes them and forces sleep like it's a task. Morning comes brutally early. The alarm vibrates on the nightstand, and Valencia's hand slaps it silent before it can ring. She moves through her routine with practiced precision. Shower, coffee, lunch packed, hair smoothed, dress chosen, armor layered carefully. Zora eats cereal with serious focus. Valencia ties her daughter's shoelaces anyway, even though Zora can do it herself. "Conferences again today?" Zora asks. "No, just a regular day." Zora nods, mouth full. "Good. Conferences make you extra tight." Valencia exhales a short laugh that isn't quite real. "I'm fine." Zora looks unconvinced, but she doesn't argue. She grabs her backpack and heads to the door. On the sidewalk, Valencia waits until Zora boards the bus. She watches until it disappears around the corner. Only then does she let herself breathe normally. Ashford's campus rises ahead like a monument. Red brick, manicured lawns, flags hanging perfect and still. Valencia parks, slings her bag over her shoulder, and walks in like she belongs. Because she does. She earned it. She paid for it in effort. Room 214 smells like marker ink and paper and faint, stubborn coffee. She writes the day's agenda on the board. Her handwriting is crisp, unshakable. Students pour in with laughter and arguments and stories about pets and weekend trips. Valencia greets each one by name, eyes meeting theirs like a promise. Sage arrives a few minutes late, hair slightly messy, cheeks flushed from running. She pauses in the doorway for half a second, gaze flicking to Valencia's face like she's reading a headline. Valencia keeps her expression neutral, warm, safe. "Morning, Sage," she says. "Morning, Miss Harris." Sage's voice is careful, too careful for an 11-year-old. She slips into her seat and pulls out her notebook, but her foot taps under the desk. Valencia notices. She always notices. The day moves. Lessons. Discussions. a writing prompt that makes two students groan and one student grin like she's been handed candy. Valencia guides, redirects, praises, corrects. At recess, she stands by the window watching children streak across the playground in neat uniforms, their voices bright against the cold air. Sage stays closer than usual, hovering near the bench where Valencia supervises. She pretends to tie her shoe. Twice. Valencia kneels beside her, as if it's ordinary. "You okay?" Valencia asks softly. Sage's eyes lift. Too direct. "My dad told me to give you space." Valencia's chest tightens. She keeps her voice steady. "You don't have to do that. What's between adults doesn't change school." Sage nods, but her fingers worry at her shoelace knot. "Do you hate him?" Valencia stills. The playground noise feels distant for a beat, like someone turned the volume down. "No," she says, honest and careful. "I don't hate him." Sage's gaze doesn't blink. "Do you love him?" Valencia's mouth opens, closes. She presses her palm lightly against Sage's shoulder, grounding the girl without giving away too much. "I care about you," Valencia says. "That's what matters here." Sage watches her for another beat, then accepts the boundary like it's a lesson. "Okay," she says quietly, and runs back to her friends. Valencia remains by the bench, looking at the scuffed toe of her shoe until the whistle blows. Back inside, the afternoon is smoother. Valencia holds the room like she always does, steady hands on the wheel, guiding 22 children through the day. Then, lunch ends. Valencia is wiping down desks when the phone on her wall rings. Shrill and sudden. She freezes for half a second, then lifts the receiver. "Room 214, she says. "Miss Harris." The voice is clipped. Official. The front office. "Principal Hargrove would like to see you as soon as possible." Valencia's stomach drops. Her eyes flick to the clock. 1:12. "Is there a problem?" she asks, keeping her tone calm. "There's been an incident at lunch involving two students," the secretary says. "We need you present." Valencia's fingers tighten around the receiver. "Which students?" A pause. Papers rustle on the other end. "Sage Winters," the secretary says, then adds, "and Zora Harris." Valencia's breath catches hard enough to hurt. The room tilts, just slightly. Not like an earthquake, like a warning tremor. "When?" Valencia asks. 2:00, the secretary replies. "The parents have been contacted." Valencia looks down at her grade book. Her pen lies across it, perfectly still. The marker smell sharpens in her nose. "I'll be there," she says. She hangs up slowly. The receiver clicks into place like a verdict. Valencia stands in the middle of her classroom, the hum of the lights suddenly loud. Through the window, the playground looks harmless. Children run. Sunlight hits the grass. Everything appears normal. Her hands move before her thoughts catch up. She grabs her cardigan, her keys, her lanyard badge. Then she stops, eyes landing on her red grading pen in the cup by her desk, the one she uses to mark truth and error, clean and undeniable. Valencia takes it and slides it into her pocket. The hallway outside is bright and quiet. Her heels strike the tile in a steady beat that pretends she isn't afraid. Down the corridor, the elevator waits. Valencia steps in, watching the doors close, and for the first time all day, she lets her face go tight with one raw feeling she can't soften. Not heartbreak, not him, her daughter. She rides up toward the principal's office with a red pen in her pocket and a pulse that refuses to slow. The principal's hallway is quieter than the rest of the school. Carpet-swallowing footsteps, framed photos of graduating classes watching like judges. Valencia walks past them with her badge swinging lightly against her ribs. A receptionist looks up, eyes softening when she sees Valencia's face. "They're inside," the woman says, voice low, like this is a hospital. Valencia nods once and reaches for the handle. The door opens on polished wood, lemon cleaner, and a tension so thick it feels humid. Principal Hargrove sits behind her desk, steel gray hair immaculate, hands folded as if she's holding the room together by force. To one side, Mr. Matthews is already seated in an expensive suit, jaw working as if he's chewing anger. Across from him, Atlas Winters stands near the window, one hand on Sage's shoulder. He looks contained, but his eyes are too bright, too sharp. Sage stands beside him, chin lifted, and then Valencia sees Zora. Her daughter is at the doorway with a guidance counselor, backpack still on, cheeks flushed, eyes hard. Zora's fingers are locked around Sage's like they're a single unit. Valencia's throat tightens. She steps fully into the room. "Miss Harris," Principal Hargrove says, "thank you for coming." Valencia doesn't sit yet. She keeps her gaze on Zora. "Are you hurt?" Zora shakes her head once. "No." Sage squeezes Zora's hand, like punctuation. Principal Hargrove clears her throat. At lunch today, there was an altercation involving Sage Winters, Zora Harris, and Jeffrey Matthews. Mr. Matthews leans forward. "My son says those girls ganged up on him." Valencia's eyes move to him slowly, like a camera panning to a threat. "That's not what happened," she says calmly. "You weren't there?" Mr. Matthews snaps. Sage's chin lifts higher. "We were," she says, voice steady. "And he's lying." Principal Hargrove's gaze sharpens. "Girls, I asked you to wait outside." Sage doesn't blink. "We're telling the truth." Zora nods. "We have to." There's a beat where the room waits to see if the principal will clamp down on them. Valencia watches that beat like it's a test. She watches the principal's fingers twitch toward the incident form, then stop. Principal Hargrove exhales through her nose. "All right, speak." Sage's eyes flick to Valencia, then back to the adults. "Jeffrey said Miss Harris is only here because she's the diversity hire." The words land heavy, ugly. Valencia feels them in her ribs, like a shove she's taken 1,000 times. She doesn't flinch. Not where anyone can see. Zora's voice cuts in, sharp as a snapped rubber band. "He said she's not a real teacher, just a quota." Mr. Matthews barks a laugh that has no humor in it. "My son wouldn't use those words." "He did," Sage says. "And when I said that was racist, he said it was facts." Valencia hears Atlas's breath hitch beside her, a sound like someone restraining a growl. She keeps her eyes on the girls. Zora adds, "He told me my mom only got hired because she's black." Silence blooms in the office. Even the air conditioner seems to hesitate. Mr. Matthews throws up his hands. "Kids say things. It's lunchroom talk." Valencia finally sits, slow and deliberate, placing herself in the chair beside Atlas without touching him. Her palm slides into her pocket and finds the red pen. Plastic, familiar, grounding. Principal Hargrove reaches for a form on her desk. Valencia watches the principal's hand hover over the stamp. Mr. Matthews says, "My son is entitled to his opinions." Valencia's head turns toward him, calm and precise. "Racist opinions aren't opinions," she says. "They're harm." "Now wait a minute." Mr. Matthews snaps. Valencia doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. She pulls her hand from her pocket and sets the red pen on the desk between them like evidence. "You can call it whatever makes you comfortable," Valencia says. "I call it what it is." Principal Hargrove's eyes flick to the pen, then to Valencia's face, then to the girl's intertwined hands. Something hardens in her expression. A decision. Mr. Matthews points at Sage and Zora. They started it. They provoked him. Sage's gaze stays locked. He pushed me, she says. Zora pushed him back. Zora adds quietly, he wanted us to be quiet. The words land even harder. Valencia's jaw tightens, but her voice stays steady. You're describing a consequence, she says, not a provocation. Mr. Matthews turns to Principal Hargrove. Are you going to discipline them or not? Principal Hargrove looks down at the form, then up. We will document what happened, she says carefully, and we will follow procedure. Mr. Matthews scoffs. Procedure. Right. Principal Hargrove lifts the stamp. Valencia's eyes narrow. That sound is familiar. It's the sound of institutions making choices and calling them policy. Then, unexpectedly, the stamp stops. Principal Hargrove sets it down without striking again. The pause is louder than the thud. Valencia stands. She doesn't loom. She simply rises, controlled. The way she rises in front of a classroom when a child thinks they can derail her lesson. My daughter is in 6th grade, Valencia says, voice even. She hears what adults model and repeats it. Mr. Matthews bristles. Are you accusing me? Valencia doesn't bite. She doesn't need to. I'm saying your son repeated a narrative that harms people, she replies, and you're defending it. Mr. Matthews's face flushes. This school isn't a place for political lectures. Valencia's mouth curves slightly, not a smile, more like a blade being unsheathed. My credentials aren't political, she says. My master's degree isn't political. 15 years of teaching isn't political. She taps the red pen once against the desk. The only thing you're making political is my skin. Valencia says, quieter now. And you know it. Atlas shifts beside her. Valencia feels him. An unspoken storm, but he doesn't speak yet. He's watching her like he's learning something that should have been obvious years ago. Mr. Matthews pushes back his chair. This is ridiculous. I'll be speaking to the board. Principal Hargrove's eyes go cool. You may, she says, but today, the documented report will reflect the statements made. She slides the form forward. There, in black ink, is the line waiting to be filled. Valencia watches Principal Hargrove write. When the principal finishes, she lifts the stamp again. Valencia's shoulders loosen by a fraction. Not relief, not victory, just the knowledge that the lie didn't win completely. Zora squeezes Valencia's hand without looking. Valencia takes it, thumb brushing Zora's knuckles. Warm skin, real. Sage's eyes flick to Atlas, then back to Valencia, like she's checking whether adults are being worthy of the lesson she wrote in her project. Mr. Matthews stands, voice rising. This is discrimination against my son. Valencia's gaze stays steady. It's accountability, she says. Principal Hargrove clears her throat. The girls will return to class. Jeffrey will be escorted to the counselor. Mr. Matthews sputters. You can't. Atlas finally speaks, low and dangerous. You can, he says to Principal Hargrove. His voice is calm, but it carries weight. Money weight. Reputation weight. Valencia feels the room tilt toward him instinctively, like gravity recognizing power. Atlas turns his eyes to Mr. Matthews. Teach your son better, he says quietly, or the world will. Mr. Matthews scoffs. But there's uncertainty in it now. Valencia gathers Zora's backpack strap over her shoulder and looks at her daughter. Come on, baby. Zora stands. Sage stands with her. The girls don't release hands as they walk toward the door. At the threshold, Zora glances back once, eyes landing on Atlas with a kind of blunt clarity that makes adults uncomfortable. "You're the one who hurt my mom," Zora says, voice flat. Not angry, certain. Atlas's face tightens, like the truth hit a bruise he can't hide. Valencia doesn't correct Zora. She only places a steady hand on her daughter's shoulder and guides her out. Behind them, the office door closes. In the hallway, the air is cooler. The carpet muffles everything. Valencia's pulse is loud in her ears anyway. Zora's hand is still linked with Sage's, as if the girls decided, without asking any adult, what side they're on. Valencia keeps walking, red pen still on the principal's desk in her mind, like a marker of what just happened. A receipt, stamped, dated, real. The hallway outside the principal's office smells faintly of carpet glue and peppermint gum. Valencia walks with Zora tucked close to her side. Sage still holding Zora's hand, like the girls have formed their own treaty. Their shoes make almost no sound on the thick carpet, but Valencia hears everything anyway, the tight drag of her own breath, the small hitch in Zora's, the distant echo of lockers slamming somewhere far below. At the end of the corridor, the double doors to the stairwell swing open, and Atlas steps out, moving fast, but stopping himself the moment he's within sight of Valencia. He doesn't close the distance. He doesn't touch. He just stands there, hands at his sides, face drawn tight with something that looks like restraint. Sage's eyes flick to him. "Dad, sweetheart." Atlas keeps his voice gentle, but his jaw is set. He looks at Valencia. "Are you both okay?" Valencia answers without softening. "My daughter is fine." Zora's chin lifts. "I told the truth." "I know," Atlas says. His gaze drops to Zora for half a second. Respectful. "You were brave." Zora doesn't smile. She isn't in the mood for adult approval. Sage squeezes Zora's fingers. "We did the right thing," she says, like she needs to hear it out loud. Valencia nods. "You did." Atlas's eyes narrow slightly as he looks down the hallway, toward the office they just left. "Was the incident report filed?" Valencia watches him. He's trying to turn rage into procedure, a skill he's probably used his whole life. "Yes," she says. "It was documented." Atlas's throat moves. "Good." A beat passes. The girls look between the adults, reading temperature, searching for cracks. Valencia shifts her attention to them. "Both of you need to go back to class." Zora opens her mouth to argue, then stops when Valencia's hand settles on her shoulder. Not forceful, just certain. Sage looks at Atlas for permission. Atlas nods once. "Library," he says. 10 minutes. The girls walk off together, still linked, their shoulders brushing as they go. They don't look back. They trust the adults to not make it worse. Valencia watches them disappear around the corner and feels something in her chest loosen and ache at the same time. When the hallway is finally empty, the silence has weight. Atlas speaks first, voice low. "Thank you." Valencia doesn't move. For what? For not letting them be made small. He keeps his eyes on her face, like he's trying to memorize what courage looks like. For saying what you said. Valencia's mouth tightens. "That's my life, Atlas. I don't get to opt out." "I know," he says, and she almost laughs because he doesn't. Not really. Not the way she means. He takes a slow breath, then adds, "And I shouldn't have to be thanked for doing the bare minimum." But he stops, swallows. "I'm sorry. You have to fight like that." Valencia's gaze pins him. "You didn't understand before." "No," Atlas admits. The honesty is blunt enough to sting. "I didn't." Valencia shifts her weight, the heel of her shoe pressing into the carpet. She can still hear the stamp in her head, that heavy thud, the sound of institutions deciding what's real. Atlas's voice tightens. Matthews is going to try to turn this into a board issue. Of course he is, Valencia says. That's what people do when consequences don't match their entitlement. Atlas's eyes flash. If he does, I'll. Don't. Valencia cuts in. The word comes out quick, sharper than she intends. She exhales and reins it in. Don't swoop in. Don't make this about your power. Atlas goes still. He doesn't argue. He just looks at her as if he's taking the correction, like a lesson. What do you want? He asks quietly. The question lands in the hallway between them. Simple. Dangerous. Not about Sage. Not about school. About Valencia. Valencia's throat tightens again. She keeps her face controlled. I want you out of my space, she says. That's what I want. Atlas flinches like he expected the hit, and it still hurt. Valencia continues, voice steady. You came back into my life like you had a right to. You don't. I know, Atlas says. And now my daughter is in the middle, Valencia adds. Our kids are friends. That makes this messy. It does, Atlas agrees. Valencia studies him for a long beat. The hallway light is too bright, too clean. It makes every expression sharp-edged. You say you're different. Atlas's brow furrows. How? Valencia's answer is immediate. Leave me alone. Atlas blinks. He looks like he expected something else, some negotiation, some opening to push through. He takes a breath. Slow, deliberate, then nods. Okay, he says. The word lands too easily. Valencia's eyes narrow. Suspicion rises. Automatic. Okay? She repeats. Atlas keeps his voice even. Professional, only. For Sage. I will not contact you outside school matters. Valencia waits for the hook. The catch. The part where he asks for one thing in return. It doesn't come. Atlas adds. Valencia feels a strange flicker in her chest, something like relief. Immediately chased by anger, because relief is dangerous. Relief makes room for hope. Good, she says, because she won't give him the satisfaction of knowing that mattered. Atlas hesitates. Valencia's jaw tightens. Make it quick. Atlas's gaze holds steady. What happened today? What your daughter heard? What you carry every day? It's wrong. His voice drops lower, and I won't pretend it isn't. Valencia hears sincerity, and it makes her palms itch. Sincerity is the kind of thing that used to soften her. She refuses to let it now. The library, she says, checking the clock. 10 minutes is almost up. Atlas nods. Of course. They walk together toward the library doors without touching, without closing the space between them. The building feels colder than it should. The air smells like paper and floor wax. At the library entrance, the girls are sitting at a table, their heads bent over a book, whispering with the intensity of children who believe they can solve adult problems if they just talk long enough. Zora looks up first. Her eyes flick to Atlas, then to Valencia. Guarded, protective. Sage looks up next, searching both faces for confirmation that the world is still intact. We're going, Valencia says to Zora, voice gentle now. Say goodbye to Sage. Zora's shoulders relax by a fraction. She stands, hugs Sage quickly, then looks at Atlas with blunt honesty. Don't hurt my mom again, Zora says. Atlas absorbs it without flinching. I won't. Valencia's eyes snap to him. The promise sits there, naked and risky. Atlas meets her gaze and corrects himself in the same breath, like he's catching his own instinct. I won't try to be in her life unless she wants it. He says instead, that's what I can promise. Zora studies him, then nods once, like a judge issuing a temporary stay. Valencia takes her daughter's hand and turns to leave. In the hallway, her phone buzzes. She looks down. A new email notification from the school. Subject line: Incident report, lunchroom altercation. Her stomach tightens again, but she opens it anyway. The attached PDF shows the report summary, the time stamped clearly near the top. It is clean, official, a record that cannot be hand-waved away. Valencia closes the email and slips the phone into her pocket. Outside, the parking lot wind cuts through her cardigan. Zora squeezes her hand. "Are you okay?" Zora asks. Valencia looks down at her daughter's face. So serious, so grown for 11. "I'm okay," Valencia says. And this time the words are true enough to hold. Behind them, the school doors shut with a soft, final click. Atlas doesn't follow. He stays inside. Valencia hates how much that matters. The gala invitation sits on Valencia's kitchen counter like a dare. Heavy cardstock, gold lettering, a date and time that feels less like an event and more like a summons. Mandatory faculty attendance, black tie, fundraiser. Zora wanders in barefoot, hair wrapped in a towel, and reads it upside down with a squint. "That's fancy. It's performative," Valencia says, sliding the invitation under a pile of graded papers, as if hiding it will change reality. Zora's mouth twists. "Are they making you talk?" Valencia pauses. Her fingers hover over the red pen she's been using to mark essays. "Yes." Zora's eyebrows lift. "You're gonna eat them alive." Valencia almost smiles. Almost. "It's not about eating anyone alive." Zora shrugs. "Practical. Okay. But don't let them make you small." Valencia's chest tightens at the echo of her mother's words. She reaches out and taps Zora's forehead lightly. "Go finish your homework." The weeks between the incident and the gala move in careful routines. Valencia teaches. Atlas stays away. No texts. No surprise appearances. Only the necessary school emails routed through the office. Bland and impersonal. Sage and Zora remain friends anyway, as if the girls have decided the adults don't get to ruin what they've built. Valencia watches them together at pickup, sometimes two small bodies moving with the confidence of people who believe they belong. The school sends out a formal update a few days later. Jeffrey Matthews is suspended. A tolerance letter goes home to all families. Language polished until it almost loses its meaning. Valencia reads it in her classroom, the paper smelling like fresh toner, and feels the familiar split. Relief that it was documented. Nausea at how quickly institutions try to smooth violence into learning moments. On gala night, Valencia's mother comes over with a sewing kit and a face set like she's going to war. The dress Valencia found is burgundy, elegant enough to pass from a distance. Her mother tugs a seam at the waist, snips a loose thread with a decisive click. "Hold still," her mother says, pinning fabric with quick fingers. "You want them to look and see excellence, not struggle." Valencia stands with her arms slightly raised, letting her mother turn her like a mannequin. She catches her own reflection in the hallway mirror. The dress fits. Her hair is smooth. Her face is composed. She looks like she belongs. Her mother steps back, eyes shining and sharp. "They can't afford you," she mutters. "They just don't know it." Zora appears at the doorway in pajamas, watching, like this is a movie she's pretending not to care about. "You look pretty, Mama." Valencia softens for half a second. "Thank you, baby." Zora walks up and adjusts the necklace Valencia borrowed from her mother, centering it with solemn attention. "Don't let any rich lady talk crazy to you." Valencia exhales a laugh. "I won't." Her mother kisses Valencia's cheek, lipstick leaving a small mark she wipes away with her thumb. Say what you need to say, then come home. Valencia nods, grabs her clutch, checks her phone, and leaves. The hotel venue glows with old money, marble floors, chandeliers, a red carpet that isn't there for her but forces her to walk like it is. The air smells like expensive perfume and champagne, and something faintly metallic from the kitchen vents. At the entrance, a valet opens her car door and looks surprised for half a beat before he recovers. Valencia watches that half beat like she's collecting it, then moves on. Inside, the ballroom is warm with light, golden, soft. People laugh too loudly, the kind of laugh that announces comfort. Glasses clink. Valencia finds the faculty table, tucked just close enough to be seen and far enough to be convenient. A few colleagues greet her, smiles that mean well, smiles that don't quite reach shared understanding. Principal Hargrove appears in a shimmering dress, eyes scanning the room like a general. Valencia, she says, leaning in. You look wonderful. You're on at 8. Valencia's mouth tastes like dry paper. I know. As the night moves, auction paddles rise. Numbers are called. 20,000, 30, 50. People clap for themselves. Valencia feels the absurdity settle on her shoulders like dust. A weekend in Aspen sells for more than her annual rent. A yacht excursion sells for more than her car. She keeps her posture straight anyway. She drinks water. She watches. At 8 sharp, the lights shift toward the stage. Principal Hargrove takes the microphone and speaks with practiced ease about community, excellence, and opportunity. Then she introduces Valencia. Miss Valencia Harris has revolutionized our humanities curriculum, the principal says. Applause rolls across the room, polite and smooth. Valencia steps onto the stage. The microphone is cool under her fingers. The spotlight warms her skin. The ballroom blurs into a sea of faces, mostly white, mostly confident, all expecting something from her. She doesn't give them a performance. She gives them clarity. She talks about education like it is a tool, not a luxury. She talks about teaching children to name the world accurately, to see systems and not confuse them with destiny. She uses simple words, sharp ones. She lets silence do work between sentences. She notices a few people stop smiling. She notices a few lean in. She notices a few glance at each other, uncomfortable, good. When she finishes, the applause is louder than before. Not because everyone agrees, because everyone knows she just owned the room. Valencia steps down from the stage with her pulse steady and her mouth dry. She threads through the tables, nodding, accepting compliments that feel like coins tossed into a jar. Then she nearly collides with a tuxedoed shoulder. She looks up. Atlas Winters stands near the back of the ballroom. A black tuxedo cut perfectly, hair neat, face controlled. He doesn't look like he belongs in a school fundraiser. He looks like he owns the air. Valencia's stomach drops anyway. He doesn't step closer. He just watches her, eyes honey-colored under the chandelier light. His expression is unreadable and too intense. That was incredible, Atlas says quietly when she's close enough to hear. His voice doesn't carry. It doesn't need to. What you said about liberation, about truth. Valencia keeps her face neutral. Thank you. She tries to move past him. Valencia, Atlas says, and her name is still a problem in his mouth. Wait. She stops, because she hates how her body reacts to his voice. Because she hates that part of her still listens. What? She asks, clipped. He swallows. Would you dance with me? Valencia stares at him, stunned by the audacity. This isn't appropriate. It's a fundraiser. He says, people are dancing. I'm a parent. Your faculty. It's appropriate. You know what I mean? She says, the words tight. Atlas holds her gaze. A slow song begins. The band's rhythm is soft, predictable. Couples rise and drift toward the dance floor, laughter and perfume trailing behind them. Atlas extends his hand, not grabbing, not demanding, offering. One dance, he says, then I'll leave you alone. Valencia hears her own heartbeat in her ears. She sees her mother's face. Zora's. She should say no. Instead, her fingers lift and settle into his palm. His hand is warm, steady. He guides her to the dance floor with measured steps, keeping just enough distance to signal restraint. His other hand rests at her waist, careful, like he's afraid she'll break. Valencia hates that gentleness, almost as much as she wants to believe it. They begin to move, awkward for 2 beats, then smoother, as if muscle memory is a betrayal. Valencia keeps her eyes on his collarbone, the crisp line of his lapel, anything but his face. Then her gaze flicks against her will to his left hand. No wedding ring. Her throat tightens. Atlas notices her glance. His jaw shifts, a small tell. It's over, he says quietly, as if answering a question she didn't ask. Valencia's voice comes out colder than she intends. I don't care. The music swells. The room glows gold. Her skin feels too warm under the lights, like the ballroom is trying to soften everything sharp inside her. Atlas leans in just enough for her to hear. I listened to your words, he says. Not the applause. The words. Valencia forces her gaze up to his face. His eyes hold hers. Not charming. Not selling. Just present. And that is the most dangerous thing he could be. He doesn't know which part of her is angrier. The part that remembers what he took, or the part that remembers what it felt like to be seen. The song carries them in slow circles. Valencia keeps moving because stopping would make it real, and because she can feel the moment cracking open, bright and fragile, and she doesn't yet know whether she's about to step away or fall back in. The song ends with a soft cymbal brush and a polite swell of applause for the band. Not for them. Valencia steps back immediately, putting air between her body and Atlas's. Her fingers release his hand as if it's hot. She gives him the kind of smile she gives parents at conferences, pleasant, distant. Thank you for the dance, she says. Atlas' throat moves. Valencia, I need to go. She cuts in, and turns before he can add another sentence that might slip under her skin. She walks fast, weaving between tables, past laughing parents and half-empty wine glasses. Her heels click too loud on the marble corridor outside the ballroom, the sound echoing like a metronome for panic. The restroom door swings closed behind her with a heavy hush. The air inside smells like citrus soap and expensive hand lotion. Valencia steps into a stall, locks it, and presses her forehead against the cool metal divider. Her breath comes shallow. Her hands shake when she tries to steady them on her thighs. One dance. One look at his bare ring finger. One quiet sentence from him that sounded like attention instead of performance. Valencia hates how close it got, how familiar it felt, how her body moved with him like it remembered, like it never forgot. She inhales slowly, counts, exhales. She pulls her clutch open, fingers fumbling until they find her red grading pen. The plastic is smooth, familiar. She rolls it between her fingers like a prayer bead until the shaking eases. When she steps back out, her face is set, makeup adjusted, eyes clear. She returns to the ballroom like nothing happened. Atlas is gone. Relief hits first. Then something colder, disappointment, sharp and unwanted. Valencia keeps moving through the rest of the evening on autopilot. More small talk, More wonderful speech, more laughter that doesn't reach her. She leaves early, makes an excuse about Zora needing her, and drives home with the city lights streaking past her windshield like smeared gold. At her apartment, she changes into sweatpants and an oversized shirt, washes off her makeup, checks on Zora asleep at her mother's place. Then she sits at her kitchen table with the gala program still folded in her bag and a silence that feels too loud. Her phone stays face down. She tells herself she's grateful. She is not. Later, in bed, she turns the pillow over to the cooler side, stares at the ceiling, and loses the fight. Her hand reaches for her laptop. The screen glow fills the room with a pale wash. Valencia's fingers hover over the keyboard, then type his name like it's an accident. Atlas Winters. Search results flood in book covers, interviews, polished headshots. Valencia clicks one article after another without reading, skimming like she's looking for a crack in the myth. Then she finds it. A podcast interview from 6 months ago. The title about divorce and learning emotional presence. The thumbnail shows Atlas in a studio, microphone in front of him, jaw set like he's about to sell sincerity. Valencia's cursor hesitates. Her stomach tightens. She clicks play. His voice is older than her memory, deeper, but still him, controlled, measured, not theatrical. I built my career around emotional intelligence, he says, and I had none in my personal life. Valencia's fingers curl around the edge of the laptop. The metal is cool against her palm. The interviewer asks what changed. Atlas answers without rushing. My wife left me, he says, and she was right to. I was present in public and absent at home. Valencia swallows. The sentence lands like a stone, not because she cares about his marriage, because she recognizes the pattern, the same pattern that shattered her. The interviewer asks about therapy. Atlas talks about it like it's hard work, not a badge. The kind where you excavate everything, he says. Not just talk. You change behavior. Valencia's eyes narrow. She listens for the hook, the branding, the glossy redemption arc. Then the interviewer asks about regrets. Atlas pauses for a long time. Valencia can hear the studio quiet in the silence. The faint buzz of equipment. Yes, he says finally. I hurt people. Specifically, I hurt someone I loved very much. Valencia's breath stops halfway in. The timeline in her head clicks like gears. The way he looked at her. The way he said her name. The interviewer asks if he tried to make amends. I tried to find her, Atlas says. His voice sounds tighter now, like the words scrape. Years ago. I couldn't. Valencia's hand slides to her mouth, not to cover it, but to hold herself steady. The room feels too warm. The interviewer asks what he would say if he could find her now. Atlas exhales. That I'm sorry. That she deserved better. That losing her was the biggest mistake I ever made. Valencia's throat burns. The next words come softer, almost reluctant, as if he's aware they're dangerous. And that I never stopped loving her. Valencia's laptop snaps shut on instinct, hard enough to rattle the bedside table. The darkness returns, but her mind stays lit. She lies there, heart pounding, as if the sentence is still playing in the air. She squeezes her eyes shut, but images rise anyway. An airport curb, a suitcase handle, his mouth forming promises, her own younger face, believing. She sits up, breath sharp, and forces herself to open the laptop again. Slower this time, like she's handling glass. She scrubs back to the timestamp, just to be sure she heard what she heard. Just to confirm, it wasn't a trick of exhaustion. The words are still there. Regret. Love. A missing woman. Her. Valencia closes the laptop again, gently this time, like she's deciding how much truth she can survive. She stands and walks to the sink, runs water, watches it pour and flash under the kitchen light. She presses her fingers into the stream until the cold bites. In the living room, the radiator clanks. Upstairs, footsteps shift. The world stays ordinary while her insides tilt. She dries her hands slowly, then goes back to bed. She pulls the comforter tight around her shoulders like armor. Hope tries to creep in, soft-footed and dangerous. Valencia crushes it with one thought. People can sound honest and still be wrong. She stares at the ceiling until her eyes blur, and when sleep finally comes, it is restless showers of chandeliers, the warmth of a hand at her waist, and a voice through a laptop speaker saying, "He never stopped loving her." Like love alone could undo 12 years of absence. Morning arrives anyway. Valencia wakes with the taste of that sentence still in her mouth. And she hates herself most for one simple thing. Part of her believed him. Monday morning is ordinary on purpose. Valencia builds the day like a wall. Coffee, lesson plans, attendance sheets, smiles that land exactly where they're supposed to. Her classroom smells like dry erase ink and sharpened pencils, familiar enough to keep her steady. Sage's desk sits filled. Her chair stays empty. Valencia notices immediately. She pretends she doesn't. By 10:30, the nurse has called twice for another student's scraped knee and a mild stomach ache. For Sage, nothing. No email, no note. No, she's just tired. Valencia keeps teaching anyway, because that is what she does when the world tries to crack open. She makes the lesson louder. At lunch, her phone vibrates in her pocket. One long buzz that feels wrong. Unknown number. Valencia answers on the second ring. "Miss Harris." A pause. Then Atlas's voice, stripped of polish. "It's Atlas," he says. He sounds like he's standing in a hallway, air too bright, people moving around him. His breath is uneven. "I know I'm not supposed to call. This is school-related. It's Sage." Valencia's stomach drops so fast it feels like falling. "What happened?" "She collapsed this morning," Atlas says. "Fever. He swallows hard. They said 104. We're at Street Mary's." The words hit Valencia's body before her mind catches up. Her hand tightens around her phone. "Is she conscious?" Valencia asks, voice steady by force. "Yes," Atlas answers quickly. "But she's weak. They're running tests." Valencia hears it beneath his words, fear. Uncontained. Not billionaire fear. Parent fear. "What room?" she asks. "You don't have to come," Atlas says, too fast, like he's embarrassed by how much he wants her to. "I'm coming," Valencia replies, and ends the call before either of them can make it about anything else. She stands in the middle of the staff lunchroom, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, her tray untouched. Her colleague across the table is mid-sentence. Valencia doesn't hear a word. She grabs her bag, finds her keys. Her badge swings against her palm. In the office, she tells the secretary, "Family emergency." And it's true enough to hold. She doesn't explain the shape of the emergency. She doesn't have time. Traffic to Street Mary's is brutal. Horns, brake lights, rain threatening. Valencia's hands grip the wheel until her fingers ache. At the hospital, the air smells like disinfectant and warm plastic. The lobby is loud with soft things, murmured names, rolling wheels, the distant beep of machines that measure life. Valencia finds pediatrics by following the signs and the rising tightness in her chest. Atlas is in the waiting area, sitting forward on a chair like he can will time to move faster. His tie is loosened. His hair is slightly out of place. He looks like someone took the billionaire suit off his soul and left him bare. He looks up when he sees Valencia. Relief flashes across his face so quickly, it's almost shameful. "You came," he says. Valencia doesn't soften. She doesn't harden either. She simply sits beside him, leaving a careful gap between their shoulders. "She's my student," Valencia says. "I care about her." Atlas nods, eyes glassy. "They won't tell me anything yet." Valencia folds her hands in her lap, fingers interlaced tight. "She's strong." Atlas's laugh is short and broken. "That doesn't help right now." "No," Valencia admits. "But it's still true." They sit in silence. Around them, a toddler cries and is soothed. A nurse calls a name. A vending machine hums. Atlas's phone buzzes once. He doesn't look at it. Valencia keeps her eyes on the double doors that lead to rooms, as if staring hard enough might pull Sage through them. Atlas speaks quietly, like he's afraid volume will make something worse. "I'm sorry." Valencia turns her head slightly. "For what?" "For calling," he says. He swallows. "For being terrified and not knowing what to do." Valencia's gaze holds him for a beat. The fear is real. It's not clever. It's not curated. She looks away again. "Parents don't know what to do when their child is sick," she says. "That's normal." Atlas's shoulders sag a fraction. "She asked for you?" Valencia's throat tightens. "She did?" Atlas nods. "She told the nurse, 'Miss Harris will explain.'" His mouth twists. "Like you're the person she trusts to make the world make sense." Valencia's eyes sting. She blinks it down. "She's a remarkable kid." "She is," Atlas says. "And there's pride there. But it's drowned by worry. And I can't fix this." A doctor appears, young and brisk, a chart in hand. "Mr. Winters?" the doctor asks. Atlas stands too fast. "Yes." "How is she?" "Sage has a bacterial infection," the doctor says. "Strep that likely spread. We started antibiotics. Her fever should break within 24 hours. She's responding." Atlas exhales so hard, it sounds like he's been holding his breath all day. "Can we see her?" he asks. The doctor glances at Valencia. "And you are?" "Her teacher," Valencia says. The doctor nods, already moving. Room 314. They follow. Atlas walking like his legs barely remember how. Valencia's shoes squeak softly on the waxed floor. Sage is small in the hospital bed, cheeks pale. A cartoon bandage is stuck to her hand where an IV sits taped down. Her eyes lift when they enter. She smiles weakly. "Miss Harris." Valencia moves to the bedside without thinking, lowering her voice the way she does in a quiet classroom. "Hi, sweetheart." "You came?" Sage whispers. "Of course I came," Valencia says, smoothing the blanket gently at Sage's shoulder. The fabric is stiff and warm. "You scared us." Sage's eyes flick to Atlas. "Dad looks like he's gonna cry." Atlas huffs a laugh that's mostly relief. "I'm not crying." Sage's gaze slides between them, even now, even sick, measuring the space. "Did you come together?" Valencia and Atlas exchange a glance, a small, caught thing. "Your dad called me," Valencia says carefully. "We both wanted to be here." Sage hums, satisfied. "Good." Atlas sits on one side of the bed. Valencia stands on the other. Sage's hand rests between them, small fingers relaxed now that they're both here. Hours pass in soft conversation and quiet. Sage dozes, wakes, drinks water, dozes again. At some point, A nurse adjusts monitors and smiles. She's doing better. Atlas's shoulders finally loosen. He leans back in his chair, exhausted. Valencia sits in the stiff hospital chair across from him, her spine aching. The room's light is dimmer now, evening settling outside the window. Atlas's jacket hangs over the chair back. He hesitates, then lifts it and drapes it over Valencia's shoulders without touching her skin, just covering her like he's trying to be useful without taking space. Valencia freezes. The fabric is heavy, warm, smelling faintly of clean soap and something expensive. She doesn't shrug it off. Sage sleeps. Atlas's head tips back against the wall, eyes closing. Valencia watches his face soften with exhaustion. For a moment, he looks like a man instead of a headline. Valencia's eyelids droop. The room's beeping becomes a lullaby. When Valencia wakes, early morning light is sliding across the floor in a pale stripe. The jacket is still on her shoulders. Atlas is still asleep in the chair, his tie loosened further, his hands clasped like he fell asleep mid-prayer. A nurse enters, checks Sage's temperature, smiles. Fever's down. Sage stirs and opens her eyes. She looks around, sees them both, and her mouth curves into a small, victorious smile. "You stayed," she whispers. Atlas blinks awake, startled. "Of course we stayed." Valencia swallows. "We're glad you're okay." Sage's gaze lingers on the space between them, like she's watching the weather. Valencia's chest tightens. Atlas looks at Valencia, something raw in his eyes, then looks away, as if even looking is too much. Later, after doctors sign discharge papers and the antibiotics are confirmed, and Sage is bundled into a hoodie, Atlas helps her into a wheelchair. Valencia walks beside them toward the exit, the hospital air thinning behind them. At the sliding doors, Sage looks up at Valencia. "You'll come to school when I'm back?" Valencia smiles. "Always." Sage's gaze flicks to her dad, then back to Valencia, and she says it like a final assignment. "Then you two should talk," she murmurs. Valencia's smile holds, but her heart stumbles. Outside, the morning air is cold and bright. Atlas turns to Valencia, eyes tired, voice low. "Thank you," he says, "for coming, for staying." Valencia nods once. She doesn't trust her voice. She watches Atlas wheel Sage to the car. Gentle hands, careful pace. Valencia stands on the sidewalk for a beat longer than she needs to, because in the glass of the hospital doors, she can see the three of them reflected: father, child, teacher, arranged like a family photo that nobody asked permission to take. And for the first time, Valencia realizes she's not only afraid of Atlas hurting her again, she's afraid of how right it felt to be there. 2 days later, the coffee shop smells different and exactly the same. The sign out front has changed. The chairs aren't the ones Valencia remembers. The menu board is newer, handwritten in looping chalk, but the air still carries roasted beans and steamed milk, and the windows still catch morning light in a way that makes everything look softer than it is. Valencia arrives first on purpose. She chooses the booth in the back, the one half-shadowed by a hanging plant. She sits with her spine straight and her hands wrapped around a paper cup that's too hot, as if heat will keep her from shaking. Black coffee, no sugar, no softness. She opens her bag and pulls out her red grading pen, clicking it once, twice, until the sound settles her nerves. A minute later, the bell over the door rings. Atlas walks in and pauses, like he's entering a room that might explode. No tuxedo this time, no polished stage version. He spots her, and the relief that crosses his face is quick and restrained, like he learned to keep it in therapy. He walks over slowly and stops at the end of the booth. "Thank you for meeting me," he says. Valencia doesn't stand. "I'm not here for gratitude." Atlas nods. "Understood." He slides into the seat across from her, careful not to crowd. His hands rest on the table, palms down, like he's proving he's not hiding anything. For a beat, they just look at each other. The hum of the coffee shop fills the space between them. Quiet conversations, a spoon tapping glass, the soft buzz of the grinder. Valencia breaks the silence first. "Tell me what happened," she says. Atlas's throat tightens. "After I left." "The truth," Valencia adds. "Not the version that makes you feel better." Atlas holds her gaze. "The truth." He inhales, exhales. Then he begins, slow and precise, like he knows every detail is a landmine. "When I went on that tour, everything got bigger than I expected," he says. "My book blew up. Interviews, speaking gigs, offers, a management team I didn't know how to handle." Valencia's fingers tighten around her cup. The cardboard sleeve presses into her skin. Atlas continues, "I hired someone to manage it. Marcus Hale. He was efficient. He made decisions fast. I let him." Valencia's eyes narrow. "You let him?" "Yes," Atlas says, not defending. "And that was my first mistake." He reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a thin folder. Plain. Not branded. Not dramatic. He places it on the table without sliding it toward her, like he's offering and not forcing. Valencia doesn't touch it yet. Atlas keeps talking. "When I was gone, I tried to call you. I sent emails. I didn't understand why you weren't answering." Valencia's jaw tightens. "I was answering." Atlas nods once, like he's absorbing the hit. "I know. Now." Valencia finally reaches for the folder and opens it. Inside are printed call logs, email headers, a small stack of pages held together by a paperclip. Each page has timestamps, dates. Valencia's red pen moves on instinct. She underlines the first line. His number, her number, a call attempt. Then she underlines the next. And the next. The ink is bright against the white paper. Atlas watches her hand, not her face. "Those are from my carrier," he says quietly. Verified statement. Not a screenshot. Valencia's pen pauses. Her eyes move to the top corner where a stamp sits. A small, embossed seal from a records office. A date. A signature. Her chest tightens. Evidence that doesn't ask her to trust him. Evidence that stands on its own. Atlas speaks again. "I found them during my divorce. Victoria's attorney subpoenaed communications. We went through everything. That's when I saw gaps. Things that didn't make sense." Valencia's pen taps the paper once. "So your wife's lawyer found my truth for you," Valencia says, voice flat. Atlas flinches. "Yes." Valencia looks up. "And before that? You believed I just disappeared." Atlas meets her eyes. "I did. Because believing you moved on was easier than believing I destroyed us." The words hang between them. He doesn't dress them up. He doesn't make them noble. Valencia's grip on the pen tightens until her fingers ache. "So what Marcus blocked you?" Atlas nods. "He screened my calls. Controlled access. Told me you weren't calling anymore. Told me you were done. And I let myself accept it." Valencia's laugh is short, bitter. "It was," Atlas says, and his voice is quiet with shame. "It was cowardice, dressed up as professionalism." Valencia looks back down at the logs. Her pen tracks the dates, the pattern, the gap, the last call attempt. Then, nothing. a clean break on paper that matches the clean break she felt in her body. And then, Valencia says slowly, you married her. Atlas's jaw works. Yes, you loved her? Valencia asks, direct. Atlas hesitates. Only a second. I tried to, he says. She deserved someone who could. I wasn't that person. Valencia's eyes harden. Because you were still in love with me. Atlas exhales, then nods. Yes. The coffee shop feels too small again. Valencia stares at the red underlines like they're cuts on her skin. And you expect me to believe you're different now, she says. I don't expect you to. Atlas replies. I want to earn it. Valencia's pen taps again. One sharp beat. Tell me why you didn't come back sooner, she says. Not with a speech, with the truth. Atlas's hands flex on the table, then still. Because I was afraid, he says. Afraid you'd hate me. Afraid I'd see what I lost up close. Afraid I'd have to feel it. Valencia's throat tightens. She hates how much that sounds like him telling the truth. She flips the last page of the folder. There's a receipt-like document, a certified request, stamped with date and time. Chain of custody. Someone signed. Someone verified. Valencia draws a line under the stamp with her red pen. Slow and deliberate. Atlas's eyes flick to the pen, then to her face. You don't have to forgive me, he says. I'm not asking for instant anything. I'm asking for a chance to show up. Valencia leans back slightly, breathing through her nose. The coffee tastes burnt now. The air feels thinner. What do you want? She asks. Atlas answers without trying to charm. To be present, he says. For Sage, for the consequences of what I did, and if you ever choose it for you. Valencia looks down at the folder again, at the stamped proof, at the red lines that make the past undeniable. She thinks of Sage sleeping with an IV taped to her hand, of Atlas's jacket on her shoulders, of Zora's blunt warning, of her own fear, not of being broken, but of believing. Her voice comes out low, controlled. We go slow. Atlas's eyes widen slightly, like he's afraid to breathe wrong. Whatever pace you set. Valencia lifts the red pen and points it at him like a rule. Clear boundaries. Yes, the girls come first, Valencia says. Always. Atlas replies. And if you ever disappear again, she adds, the words sharp as the pen tip. There's no third chance. Atlas nods, face steady. Understood. Valencia holds his gaze for a beat longer, measuring him like she measures a student's work, looking for honesty, effort, pattern. Then she closes the folder and slides it back across the table. Not like a gift, but like a record. Her hand extends across the booth. Atlas looks at it like it's sacred. Valencia's voice stays even. Hi, she says, the smallest reset she can manage. I'm Valencia Harris. Atlas takes her hand carefully. His grip is warm, not possessive. Hi, he says softly. I'm Atlas Winters. They shake once. Formal, almost absurd. In the window behind him, the morning light catches the red ink on the pages as if the truth itself is glowing. And for the first time in 12 years, Valencia feels something shift small, fragile, real, not forgiveness, a starting point. The backyard smells like cut grass and charcoal smoke, the kind that clings to clothes and makes ordinary moments feel permanent. Valencia stands at the kitchen sink, hands submerged in warm, soapy water. Plates slide under her fingers. A sponge squeaks against ceramic. The house hums with small sounds, music low from a speaker, a ceiling fan turning, the girls' laughter spilling in through the open back door. Outside, Atlas is at the grill in a worn t-shirt. sleeves pushed up, tongs in hand. He isn't performing. He's focused, checking the chicken like it matters, turning it with patience. Smoke curls past his face, and he waves it away with a distracted motion that makes him look younger, almost normal. At the patio table, Sage and Zora are hunched over homework, shoulders touching, arguing quietly over a science question like it's a courtroom case. Their pencils tap, pages rustle, then they burst into laughter again, heads thrown back, the sound bright enough to make Valencia's chest ache. Valencia dries a plate and sets it on the rack. Her red pen lies near the stack of worksheets, a small anchor in the middle of domestic chaos. She watches it for a second, then looks out the window again. Atlas glances toward the kitchen, catches her eyes, and smiles. Not the polished smile from a stage, the tired, real one that shows up when he forgets to guard himself. Valencia feels it in her body before she allows it in her mind. She turns back to the sink, rinsing a fork longer than it needs. Behind her, footsteps pad into the kitchen. Zora appears, holding a cup of sparkling cider like she's pretending it's champagne. Her eyes are bright and watchful. "He's making your plate special," Zora says, nodding toward the grill. Valencia raises an eyebrow. "My plate?" Zora's mouth twists, like she's trying not to smile. "He said you like it less burnt." Valencia exhales through her nose. "Do your homework." Zora takes a sip and leans on the counter anyway, chin resting on her palm. "Are you happy?" The question lands soft and heavy. Valencia keeps her hands busy. Soap, water, control. "I'm okay," Valencia answers. Zora's eyes narrow in disbelief. "That's not what I asked." Valencia rinses the last plate and turns off the faucet. She dries her hands, slow, looks at her daughter, who has learned to read her too well. "I'm learning," Valencia says finally, "how to want something without losing myself." Zora's face softens. She steps closer and wraps her arms around Valencia's waist, quick and fierce. "Good," she murmurs, "because you deserve good." Valencia presses a kiss to Zora's hair. "Go finish your homework." Zora releases her and slips back outside. A moment later, Atlas enters the kitchen with a serving platter, heat radiating off the food. He sets it down on the counter carefully, like it's an offering. "I didn't burn it," he says, attempting a lightness that still carries nerves. Valencia looks at the platter. Chicken, corn, a simple salad. Nothing luxurious, nothing trying to impress. "Thank you," she says. Atlas's gaze holds hers for a beat. "You did something incredible," he says quietly. Valencia's brow tightens. "What?" "The way you handled everything," he says. "The way you stood your ground. The way you didn't let anyone rewrite your worth." Valencia's throat tightens in a way that feels both irritation and vulnerability. "I didn't do it for applause." "I know," Atlas says. "That's why it matters." He steps aside as the girls rush in, plates in hand, energy too big for the doorway. They crowd around the counter, laughing, reaching, stealing pieces of corn before anyone says grace. Valencia sits at the table with them, her chair pulled close enough that her knee nearly touches Atlas's under the wood. He doesn't press, he doesn't take. He just exists in the shared space, like he's grateful to be allowed. They eat. They argue about a movie. Sage makes a dramatic face at Zora. Zora pretends to gag at Sage's joke. Atlas laughs, real and surprised, like he's still getting used to laughter that isn't strategic. Valencia watches him in flashes, the way he listens when the girls talk, the way he doesn't check his phone, the way he refills Zora's cup without being asked, the way his eyes flick to Valencia only when he thinks she isn't watching. When dinner is over, Sage drags Zora back to the table for one more question, and the two of them spread papers across the wood like they own the house. Atlas carries plates to the sink. Valencia follows with a stack of cups. Their hands brush briefly over the dish towel. Atlas pauses like he's deciding whether to speak. Valencia keeps her gaze on the faucet. "Say it," she murmurs. Atlas's voice is quiet. "I've been thinking about a promise." Valencia's stomach tightens. Promises are dangerous. Atlas continues anyway, careful. "Not the kind that pressures you," he says. "Not the kind that asks you to trust words." Valencia turns slightly, eyes narrowing. "Then what kind?" Atlas reaches into his pocket slowly, like he's disarming something. He pulls out a small velvet box and sets it on the counter without opening it yet. The sight of it makes Valencia's pulse spike. Sage's laugh echoes from the table. Zora's voice follows, teasing, bright. The ordinary sound of their daughters fills the room like protection. Atlas speaks softly. "This isn't a proposal." Valencia's breath is shallow. "Then why is there a box?" Atlas opens it. Inside is a ring. Simple, understated. No oversized diamond. No statement piece. Just a clean band with a small stone that catches the kitchen light, like a quiet yes. Valencia stares, throat tight. Atlas's eyes meet hers. "It's a symbol," he says, "that I'm here, that I choose presence. Every day." Valencia's voice comes out flat, defensive. "You can't buy your way into trust." "I'm not trying to," Atlas replies immediately. "This isn't payment. It's not leverage. If you hate it, I'll put it away, and we never speak of it again." Valencia's fingers curl against the counter edge. The wood is smooth under her nails. Her mind tries to run through every angle, pressure, optics, control. But Atlas's face doesn't look like a man trying to win. It looks like a man trying not to ruin what he's finally been allowed to build. "Where would it go?" Valencia asks, voice low. Atlas swallows. "On your right hand," he says. "Not an engagement, not ownership, just a reminder. A reminder that he's here. A reminder that she can leave if she needs. A reminder that love can be action, not speech." Valencia looks toward the table. Sage and Zora are bent over a worksheet, whispering like conspirators. They glance up, eyes sparkling. Valencia looks back at Atlas. Her chest tightens in a way that feels like fear and something softer. "Okay," she says, and the word is quiet but solid. Atlas's breath catches. He nods once, almost reverent. He lifts the ring with careful fingers and waits, giving her time to change her mind. Valencia extends her right hand. Atlas slides the ring on slowly. It fits perfectly, like it was measured in secret, like he paid attention to her life instead of his own. The stone catches the overhead light. Valencia stares at it. Simple, real. Atlas's voice is barely above a whisper. "Thank you." Valencia's throat tightens again. She doesn't answer with softness. She answers with truth. "Don't waste it," she says. Atlas nods. "I won't." From the table, the girls erupt in cheers like they've been holding their breath for months. Valencia turns her hand slightly, watching the ring glint. Not a fairy tale. Not a finish line. A marker. Outside, the grill smolders down. The sun drops lower, staining the yard in amber. The house holds 4 lives moving around each other, imperfect and real. Valencia looks at her reflection in the kitchen window ring on her right hand, dish towel in her left, her daughters laughing behind her, Atlas watching her like he knows what he's been given. Her voice is quiet, mostly to herself. "Excellence isn't a quota, it's a receipt."